Ladies and gentlemen, fellas, welcome into 5 games on a Thursday, and welcome into a couple of big national days today, right? Whichever you want to be celebrating. National Hemp Day, National Homemade Soup Day, National Thank You Mail Carrier Day. I'm not joking. February 4th is all these days, and then the first Thursday in every February, I got the sources right here. I'm looking at it on the other screen, is Optimism Day. What a great day. What a great day if you're just talking about your life. What a great day if you're talking about DFS, betting, if you want to just give yourself the glass half full approach, the affirmation approach, the I'm going to bink this motherfucking tournament today approach. Or it can just be as small as I'm going to get this workout in or something like that. So here, we start your day. We're not just the DFS and betting side of it. Obviously, we're going to smack you around with all that info better than anybody else can do it in these streets. I mean, that's just how it is. It's confidence. It's not cockiness. But we're also going to try and give you a little bit of a boost to the start of your day, the middle point of your day, or maybe you're about to get these lineups in and you need that quick fix of this DFS channel right here, the Sal Vetri and Partners, the Sal Vetri Show on the podcast version. We'll get yourself something going today. Set yourself a goal and accomplish that goal. If it is in DFS or outside in your personal life, whatever it might be, your business life, Optimism Day, crush the day today. Let's break into this 5-game slate. So what's going on? What's happening? We got some teams on a back-to-back. We got a decent amount of injury news and some news that's kind of still up in the air. Guys, I missed yesterday that we don't know if they're going to miss today, if it was just for rest yesterday, if it's actually something that's going to be a little bit more serious. Mainly John Wall is going to be that piece today. So as we get into it, like, subscribe, do all of those beautiful things for this beautiful channel here. The games start at 7:30 tonight. Now, normally these Tuesday and Thursday slates are starting like a half hour later. So instead of live streaming at 4 p.m., we're going to push it back to a half hour to 4:30 p.m. East Coast time. So I encourage you. We had a nice group of 700 people or so at one point yesterday, just asking questions, kicking back, relaxing, maxing, all cool. It's a different type of environment, right? You're going to come in there, you're going to get the breakdowns of any questions that you have. It's an interactive chat with the community. But I just wanted to let some people know about that. Some people don't know that we actually do these live streams every day. They might be just podcast viewers, so they don't get those notifications on YouTube. But you have any question, and it's not just it can be for anything for you. You want to hop in quick and get your question answered? Fine, we'll answer your question. Really, I'll answer your question, right? Or if you want to hop in, hang out, ask questions about anything, we'll get to that too. It's a hangout. It's a hangout for DFS and any other questions that you might want to have. It is a kickback, if you will, in this space. So a unique atmosphere. So be sure to join us. That notification bell on YouTube will let you know when we are indeed going live. So let's hop up into this video. We can talk about the sponsor of the show in just a second, rocking their hoodie right now. A sponsor that only filled at 70%. Again, if you've been watching my content, you know, oh, he's coming in here again about the Super Draft overlay. There's a reason I'm doing it, right? Yesterday, a couple of days over the weekend, it only filled at like 80%, these massive contests on Super Draft. Okay, they had a 15,000 person contest yesterday. I didn't get to play nearly as much as I would have liked to, but had some personal things and some nice fun night with my girlfriend in terms of our 3-year anniversary, if you will. So it was a fun night. I would choose that every single time over it, right? But a lot of people in the Discord were letting me know the benefits of it. Only filled at 70% last night also. 15,000 first, 70% filled. So 30% of the lineups virtually had zeros in them. That's kind of how you can approach that. So that's pretty cool. Now tonight they have another $10,000 to first contest. Tonight I assume it's not going to fill yet again. Later in the week, some people start to stop playing DFS for whatever reason. You know, the weekend's approaching, especially on Friday and Saturdays. But Thursday, it's kind of that pivot point. Again, Super Draft, promo code SAL, my name. You get a free money bonus up to $500 in a slow drip format. They're also running a promotion for the Super Bowl. I'm giving away 20 Super Draft tickets. All you got to do is leave a review on the podcast, the Sal Vetri Show. Just leave a review, screenshot it to me. As I'm saying this, you can get it done in literally 10 seconds. You open up your podcast app, the Sal Vetri Show, you leave a review, screenshot it to me, send it to me in an email or on Twitter, and you're entered into a raffle. Only 19 people have done it so far. I got 20 tickets to give away. So far, everybody's getting one to win a Super Bowl ticket for Super Draft. But be sure to check it out, man. I cannot promote it enough in terms of it filled at 70%. That's just nuts. 30% of the prize pool, 30% of the contest weren't there for a major prize pool. So get in. Stop waiting. It's not going to be like this forever. That's why I'm trying to push people towards it. And take advantage of it when you can. Why are you putting your first dollars into a DraftKings contest with incredible rake, with 100% of the prize pool filled, with probably a large field of like 50,000 people, when your first dollar should be going to somewhere that there's 5 figures to first and a third of the prize pool last night wasn't filling? Absolutely bonkers. But again, Super Draft, thank you for sponsoring the show. My name's Sal, SAL, get you that free money bonus. Any questions on Super Draft, let me know. We have projections down below on Patreon if you need some assistance there. So getting into it now with the injury and status dashboard. Let's do a little prayer, if you will. Look, I'm not the most religious person in the world, but a little prayer that all these fellas right here are going to be getting their energy levels up, their health up, their injuries up, all that type of stuff. We want to see these guys on the court. Too many guys getting injured, too many back-to-backs right now. But we're going to start it off in Denver with a couple guards. They're still going to remain out. PJ Dozier is out. Gary Harris is out. This is interesting, right? Dozier with the hamstring, Gary Harris with the thigh injury. And I say it's interesting because this team hasn't played since, I believe, the 31st. So it's been like 4 days now. We haven't seen Denver, and these guys are still out. So they seem to be somewhat significant of injuries that we're getting here. Now, Gary Harris did play in that last game, but he only played 8.8 minutes, right? He played 8.5 minutes, and then he ended up getting hurt. So what happened after that? Well, you saw Monty Morris in that game play 26 minutes. That's very encouraging. You saw RJ Hampton get in the rotation with 6 minutes. You saw Campazzo, another guard that they ended up taking or really getting this year and signing. He played 19.2 minutes, but you have to look into those minutes. Now, Monty Morris played 26 minutes in that game, and he checked out with 5 minutes and 2 seconds left. So he didn't even get the blowout run. So they're giving this man 26 minutes. He played in the first half about 14.5 to 15 minutes. So big minutes for Monty Morris are inbound now. Again, you can't be looking at just the recent game logs. Gary Harris played in that last game, and he checked out basically after his first quarter stint of getting injured. Now, some people might want to go over to Campazzo and jump on Campazzo. I think it's okay to do that, but he didn't really see a bump at all. In the first half, Campazzo only played about 4.5 minutes. In the second half, he was probably only going to play about another 4.5 minutes, but then the game blew out, so they kept him in for 10 minutes and 20 seconds of the final 12 minutes of the game. So sure, Campazzo might go, instead of playing like 8 to 10 minutes a game, he might get up into that 14, 15 minute range with no Gary Harris, but Monty Morris is probably the one to benefit the most here. We can now go to Golden State, and it's so nice. It's a 5-game slate, so look at that. Look how pretty, if you're watching on the YouTube video right now, look how pretty that injury and status dashboard looks. Look at that. Fits perfectly to the screen. We don't got to scroll today, right? We're going to be scrolling when we get to the early interest. We're going to keep you on the edge of your seat on that side of it on the YouTube version, but look how pretty that thing looks right now. There's no reason to scroll. I was going to scroll yet again, right? Go one by one, so people are like, oh, who's the next guy on this, right? Right, at least I think that maybe entices some people to watch longer and stay in and get a little bit suspension brewing. But then I popped it up into the screen, I fit it to the screen, and I was like, oh, that looks way too good to want to be scrolling. That thing is firm in there right now. So we can go over to Golden State where, they got center problems. They got them big man problems. We already know Marquise Chris is basically done for the year. We knew that James Wiseman heading into the last game, he was going to miss 7 to 10 days, they said. So, I mean, basically he's going to be missing out there potentially anywhere from 4 to 6 games, maybe even more. It's at least 7 to 10 days. So he said, oh, Kevon Looney looks like he's going to be a nice play. Well, it could have happened, but Kevon Looney got hurt in that game, and now they are down big men. Kevon Looney is out today, going to miss at least 2 weeks. James Wiseman is also out, and we don't really know the exact timetable of his return. So Looney with the ankle, Wiseman with the wrist. Alan Smiley, I think, is still on this roster on DraftKings, but he's not going to be active today. So unless they sign somebody today, and I mean, they're not in the DraftKings player pool as of right now, you're going to be getting Draymond Green out as a small center. And like we said on that last stream, Draymond Green got to play big center minutes, and he's going to get to play even more big center minutes without Kevon Looney. He played 36.5 minutes in that last game for Draymond. We saw the rebounding rate come up for Draymond Green. Now in that game, he only shot 1 of 7, right? He only shot 1 of 7 and scored 2 points, but he ended up having 11 rebounds, 7 assists. He got 2 steals, 2 blocks. You play closer to the basket, you're just going to get more rebounds, of course, and more blocks, but also the shooting opportunities are going to come when you're closer to the basket. So Draymond's going to look really good today. Well, who else is going to be in play? Well, Toscano Anderson actually checked in for Kevon Looney when Kevon Looney got hurt. Kevon Looney got hurt with a couple minutes left in the first half, and then in the second half, you saw Toscano Anderson check in. Now, this team in the Celtics is not the biggest team, right? Yes, they have Daniel Tyson. Yes, they have Tristan Thompson, and they have centers like Robert Williams, but they don't usually play all that big, especially at that power forward spot. Sometimes earlier in the year, they were starting Tyson and Tristan Thompson next to each other. Wasn't working out that great, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens, right? Because in that game, we were like, oh, Eric Paschall could be a good value. And then on the live stream, I was like, look, Eric Paschall is picking up ownership. He's got back spasms, and there's a lot of other guys on this slate that we can maybe get some secure minutes from. Eric Paschall goes out there and scores 4 fantasy points in 14 minutes. So I'll pat myself on the back for that one. Look, I've gotten a lot wrong. I've gotten a lot wrong this season. I've gotten a lot right. But in that situation, people were just trying to give Eric Paschall like an extra 10 minutes of play or an extra 4 to 5 to 10 minutes of play out of nowhere on a small slate, and it spiked up his ownership. So there's a lot of speculation. So if there's a lot of speculation going into something, and it's honestly a lot of hot air, in my opinion, well, try and get away from that. Now, yesterday, some of these OKC guys, right, Theo Maledon and mainly Hamidou Diallo, if you played last year, right, they look fantastic, right? Diallo averaging 1.19 fantasy points per minute, was basically SGA when SGA was off the court, and he got big minutes, and he scored 30-plus points in the 4K range. He looked good. So there's times to find secure value and not secure value. So again, today, Eric Paschall, they said after the game, Steve Kerr, that yes, he played his 14 minutes. Normally he's playing 18, 19 minutes out there, but it's the back spasms. So we have to see what happens here. Now, if he's active, he kind of played through those back spasms. If he's active, I don't want to really trust him, right? I don't know how much we can trust him. He should play in the mid-20s and upper 20s in minutes when he's healthy in this situation with no center and Draymond basically playing almost all of his minutes. I assume all of his minutes basically at center now. But what's that going to do? Well, it's going to give Toscano Anderson more run, who in that game actually played well. Before Looney got hurt, Toscano Anderson played about 9 to 10 minutes. So he's going to play decent minutes in that game, around 20. He ends up playing 27 minutes in that game. He ends up closing the game out with Steph and Draymond, so that's good to see as well. He got to close the game out. Kent Bazemore got to close the game out as well, basically. So Bazemore didn't play big minutes, but his minutes should come up now. So it's going to be interesting. Right now, I'm going to project it as Paschall and Bazemore splitting minutes. I'll give Paschall a little bit more minutes there, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'll try and find some reports during the day. I'll update the projections down below on Patreon. You can check them out. Link down below, patreon.com/Sal Sal_Vetri_ if you want to support. We have tools over there. We have analysis that's going to help you even more. Any questions on that, just reach out to me and let me know. But I do think it's going to help increase your chances of return on investment. Return on investment basically means profit. Them dollar rooskies, y'all. So that's what's happening in Golden State right now. It's going to be a big benefit for Draymond, who's still not priced up. And then Toscano Anderson, we'll see who starts, right? Because now if he's going to start at center, Draymond, who starts at power forward is going to be giving everything away. Is it Toscano Anderson? Play him at a cheap price point. Is it Eric Paschal? Seems like his back should be fine now. I don't think they're just going to spot start him. Is it Kent Bazemore? We'll go for him then. Whoever's starting at the power forward spot is going to give us a lot more confidence in who we can ride with today in Golden State. We head over to Houston, where we got the news yesterday. The game blew out yesterday, so that hurt a lot of guys. We only got you didn't get the final fourth quarter run out of any of these guys. They basically all lost out on like 8 minutes of closing run for Oladipo to Christian Wood, all these guys, right? But you have now, yesterday we got the news that he's going to play on Wednesday, but then be doubtful and unlikely to play probably on Thursday for rest, and that's Victor Oladipo. So now he's doubtful, but Houston's kind of just a headache right now because Nwaba missed on Wednesday. Does he play today? John Wall missed on Wednesday for his Achilles, but they're saying it's just for recovery purposes, but does that mean he's going to miss again today? I'm currently projecting in John Wall, but again, I'll change that if indeed we get more news and when we get more news. And then the game blew out, so you might be saying, oh my God, DeMarcus Cousins played 26 minutes, and somehow he only scored 22 fantasy points. Normally he's scoring like 40 when he gets 26 minutes. But yes, the game blew out. Christian Wood didn't get his final 8 to 9 minutes of run, maybe even 10 minutes run. It normally would have been the 30 to 32 minutes for Wood and the 16 to 18 minutes for Cousins, so don't read into that too much in that game. You had Eric Gordon playing well. You can read into that because with no Victor Oladipo and if there's no John Wall, then Eric Gordon looks a little bit better, but it's going to be tough. We have to see what happens with John Wall. If I project John Wall in, he's too cheap at $6,900, and he by far is the best player on this Houston team to roster today. Now, if he's out, then we have to see just basically what happens with David Nwaba and then see who starts. Is it Sterling Brown starting now since there's also no, is it Mason Jones getting a spot start, right? Since there's also no Victor Oladipo and they're at kind of a deficit at guard, then we just have to basically see who's going to be in the starting rotation to kind of have an interest there. You move over to Memphis now quickly, and it's Jonas Valanciunas out again, and also Grayson Allen. Basically, what's going to happen here is Brandon Clark still not getting it. So this Memphis team is always in a blowout, right? Like Brandon Clark, I was going to say his price point's coming down, and yes, he's not producing as well, but he's not getting his final full run. He's basically missed out on anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes in the last couple of games because of blowout run. In that last game, they end up losing by 18 to Indiana, and some people end up getting some decent blowout run, right? You had Dylan Brooks in that game play very well, but he checks out with 6 minutes and 46 seconds left. He plays very well in 28 minutes, but he was going to easily play 33, 34 minutes in that game. So Dylan Brooks yet again is going to look good. For Jonas Valanciunas being out, yeah, you can once again slide in there Brandon Clark to start. And now some people might be saying, oh, we got to go back to Gorgie Dang. He played 25 minutes in that last game. No, he got to close out the game in garbage time. He got to play 6 minutes and 46 seconds. That's not going to happen. The exact same thing with the Anthony Melton as well. Except the Anthony Melton is a little bit more concerning here. The Anthony Melton in the first half of that last game, he ends up going out there and playing about 10 to 10 and a half minutes. That's not good. If you take that over a full game, assuming he gets the closing run, he'll get at most 22 minutes. And that's what happened here. He got 22 minutes, but he got to close out the game in a blowout. He got to play in that game the final 5 minutes. So normally DeAnthony Melton, I don't think is going to be in the closing rotation. Maybe he is, but at the best, you're seeing a 22 to 24 minutes of run right now. And this is what Grayson Allen out. So I'm concerned about DeAnthony Melton. We've had John Concar come back over the last couple of days, and that's taken in some more minutes. John Concar played 20 minutes in this game, also got blowout run, but they're taking some of DeAnthony Melton's minutes, maybe a minute or two. Same thing for Xavier Tillman, and now giving them to a guy like John Concar. Hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. I'm sorry to the family of the Concors and John, if not. So what does this boil down to? It boils down to a point where DeAnthony Melton, yes, if another blowout happens, he can get the minutes and get you there. He's a high-producing player, a fantasy point per minute. But I'm not really interested in him. Again, I'm not interested in Tillman. It's kind of my same stance as last time. If the game blows out, sure, Gorgie Dang and all these guys are going to get there. Tyus Jones might play another 20 minutes. But if not, then I'm sticking with the same guys I liked last time, right? You had a low-owned Dylan Brooks last time. He went off. You had a low-owned Kyle Anderson. He doesn't go off, and he misses out on a lot of minutes, only plays 21, gets into some early foul trouble himself, and you'll have probably another low-owned Brandon Clark. None of these guys stand out in a major way for me, but they're all just kind of fillers. If I have my lineup set and I only got $6,000 left, maybe I slide in a Brandon Clark or a Dylan Brooks, depending on where I'm looking. Damian Lillard questionable with an abdominal. He got hurt in that last game. He ended up playing through it. And also Derrick Jones Jr. is questionable, and Nasir Little is out. So you're going to have to see what happens here. If Damian Lillard is in at $10,400 and going to play 36 plus minutes, it looks pretty dang good. But if he's out, and then you also have the top 3 guys in this team now out, with no Yusuf Nurkic and no CJ McCollum, we don't have much of a sample of that. I assume Anthony Simons steps up. I assume Carmelo Anthony steps up. I assume Gary Trent continues to play like 40 minutes a game at this point, and he steps up. But we have to see what happens there. I'm currently projecting Damian Lillard in. If he's out, all hell breaks loose, and Portland is the team of value everywhere. Robert Covington, go to any of these guys that you want. Rodney Hood, we had to talk about this on the last live stream. Rodney Hood, he needs, I said, 40 minutes to hit value for you. He got 35 and he got 22 fantasy points, and he barely is like hitting value for you. So Rodney Hood, I'm not really that interested in unless he's no Damian Lillard today, and for some reason we think he's going to play 40 to 42 52 minutes, which it could happen at this point based on how many minutes they're letting these Portland guys play. But Enes Kanter, he's untouched here. He's still going to be looking very good. He's still going to be looking fantastic on the sponsor of the So Super Draft like he does almost every single time he plays. He's still too cheap, and he's still too good of a fantasy point per minute producer. But the problem with Enes Kanter, and we'll get to it, is Mr. Joel Embiid. So that kind of transitions us now into the early interest for this Thursday 5-game slate. So let's talk about the early interest, and now we're going to slide. So if you're watching on the YouTube video, we're going to slide these fellas down one by one, keep that suspension going. And it's not going to be in salary order. You might think that because Luka's the first one up here. It's going to be based on the team. So alphabetical order. So we're starting with Dallas, which, yes, that basically means I don't really have much interest in Atlanta tonight. Sure, you can get to Trae Young if you want. Oh, you want to chase John Collins' big game? The price point hasn't changed, but you want to change his big game where he shot like 23 times and made like 19 of them or 16 of them? Yeah, go for that. I'm not really going to be chasing that all that much. And then there's not much other interest there. Like Kevin Huerter's playing big minutes at 5,500. He's just kind of like, man, I think you can find better value on the slate. I think we already have better value like Draymond at 5,200. I don't even care if the ownership's that far. I'm never playing Kevin Huerter over Draymond tonight, right? I don't even care if the ownership is on a 5-game slate 35% to 5%, right? I'm just going to be playing Draymond. He's going to project out that much better. There's places to pivot, and that is not one of them, right? So Luka Doncic right now, yes, there's going to be some pay-up options on the slate, and you have Jokic on the slate right now. You have potentially Damian Lillard. You have all the guys from the Lakers, both of their pay-up options above a $9,700 AD, I believe, today, and LeBron right at $10,000, and which should be a competitive game against Denver. So Luka looks appealing. Now, Luka played yesterday. He ends up scoring 64. He was my favorite pay-up option yesterday. He's not my favorite pay-up option today, but you know what you get out of Luka. There's not much to break down here, right? You're going to get 35, 36 minutes in a competitive game. Odds are this game doesn't stay all that competitive, but maybe it does, right? If Steph can go absolutely nuclear again like he did the last time out for Golden State, but you're getting that massive usage rate, the rebounding rate, all this stuff to lead a team. Now, the interesting thing is Luka's actually been better. It's a smaller sample, but he's actually been better with Christoph's on the court. Now, maybe that's just less attention on him, but you would think the rebounding rate would slide a little bit. The rebounding rate with no Christophe Porzingis out there right now is at 26%. He averages just 1.56 fantasy points per minute. But when you throw Christophe Porzingis onto the court, you end up getting from Luka Doncic his fantasy points per minute to go up to 1.63, and maybe it increases his assist percentage, which it's doing right here, 55% assist percentage, which is just absolutely bonkers in 238 minutes, but it does drop the rebounding rate. The rebounding rate goes down from 26% to 20%. You get more points for assists, so that's obviously going to be helping him. Again, it is somewhat of a smaller sample, but still, over 230 minutes is interesting to look at. So he's actually been a better player this season when you're getting him playing alongside Christophe Porzingis from a fantasy point per minute standpoint. Normally, people would say, oh, Christophe is out, bump to Luka. No, it's actually Christophe is in so far. That's the bump to Luka, which is appealing. Christophe, as of right now, we're going to assume is going to be in today. He's been sitting sometimes on back-to-backs. Maybe that happens today. It's not going to make Luka a terrible play. It's just kind of a marginal difference from 1.63 to 1.55, but it's at least something interesting worth sharing. Now let's get into the next player up, and we're going to stick with Dallas, and that's Mr. Christophe Porzingis. When he's on the court so far this season with Luka, averaging just 1.17 fantasy points per minute. The rebounding rate's there at 25%, right? The problem, the usage is there at 25%. The true shooting's there at 58%. All that stuff is great. All that stuff looks nice. He's never been a high assist player, but the problem with him right now is just the volume. He's not getting as much volume, but look, it's the matchup today. The matchup today is going to be driving Christophe's up, and the price point as well. So the price point combined with the matchup. You're getting Christophe's not taking massive volume these last couple of games and still scoring 40 just because how active he is and how many minutes he plays, right? Right now he's averaging over 30 minutes per game, but recently he's been playing much more than that. So you're getting this matchup where we already told you and mapped out that there's nobody there at center. Draymond's going to be the biggest center today, right? And then if you're going to be putting up Toscano Anderson or Eric Pascal, who's known more for his offense coming into the league, Pascal was known more for his defense, but now known more for his offense, or Kent Bazemore, you're going to put these guys on Christophe Porzingis. It honestly could be a slaughterhouse for Christophe Porzingis today. So yes, Christophe is somebody who's going to be very much in play for me. Now next up is somebody that I've been very bullish on these last couple of games, and it's paid off for us, especially on the first when they played Phoenix. He goes for 10x. He scores over 40 points at $4,000, and that's just because it was really good shooting, but he's playing bigger minutes. We saw it. We saw it on the 30th, the first game that they played against Phoenix. They had a 2-game set. It's Josh Richardson. We saw it on the 30th. He played 35 minutes. He was coming back from COVID. The first game back, he only played 25 minutes. Okay, we got to see if those minutes get up there. Then he plays 35. That's the normal minutes that he was playing. And those normal minutes that he was playing, yeah, he wasn't playing that great usage-wise, but it was also because he was shooting poorly. So everything comes together. He plays the minutes, 37, and then he shoots 9 of 16, 56%, and he scores over 40 fantasy points. Then the next time out, I go, okay, well, he's got the minutes now. If he just shoots half decent, he's still too cheap at 4,500. Well, he shoots terrible, but he gets the minutes. He shoots just 3 of 11, but he ends up picking up some blocks and steals, and just from playing a lot of minutes, he scores 32 points. Now, Josh Richardson's price point is up now. It is, right? It's up to $4,900, up $900 in a couple of games. But here's the thing. He's playing this big of minutes. He's going to be somebody who picks up a couple of steals and rebounds and these types of things for you. Really more so like assists and steals, like combined line. You could probably bank on somewhere between 6 to 8 on average, but the upside of 10 plus from him. But here's the thing. He's getting the volume. 11 shot attempts in his last 3 games since getting these minutes. If he just shoots half decent, if he just doesn't shoot 27% like the last game and shoots, let's just say 35 to 40%, and he's playing that big of minutes and picking up other peripherals, he's still too cheap on a 5-game slate at 4,900. Keep Richardson in play for yourselves and myselves and let everybody else continue to fade him. I like myself some Josh Richardson still. And then we can close out Dallas. There's a lot of guys from Dallas today because I think there's some decent value here. The second that if Damian Lillard gets ruled out or some other injury news, if John Wall's not playing today, a lot of value will be on other teams today. But Maxi Kleber is somebody to just continue to watch. Maxi Kleber is somebody who's been getting his minutes monitored in the last couple of games. And this wasn't due to blowout run or anything like that, right? You had Maxi Kleber returning for the first time in about 3.5 weeks on the first against Phoenix. He only played 18 minutes. He was limited, right? Nothing crazy there. Then his price point drops to $3,700 and he plays 32 minutes. So now he's back up the pace. Now in a close game, he plays 32 minutes. He doesn't shoot all that much, just 6 attempts, right? But he's picking you up some steals. He's picking you up some rebounds, assists, but he's just cheap. That's the big thing. He scores 24 fantasy points at $3,700. Now the price point comes down $100. You're probably going to find better value in a Toscano Anderson if he starts. You're probably going to find better value in Portland depending on who's going to be playing there and Anthony Simons and stuff like that. But just don't sleep on Maxi Kleber. He's not a great fantasy point per minute producer because he doesn't get a lot of volume, especially next to Christoph's, but he's just 3,600. And if he plays 30 plus minutes again, he has to be in play on a 5-game slate. Let's slide over to the next team and we could break down this team in total because I like just 2 guys from it. Nikola Jokic is my favorite pay up option today. That probably doesn't shock any of you out there. There's not much that we have to break down from Nikola Jokic. You know the minutes that you're getting out of him. He's going to be playing in a competitive game today. Some people are going to say, oh, he's going to go up against Anthony Davis. No, he's not. He's at the center position. And here's the thing. He's going to go up against maybe some Anthony Davis, right, when they're down there banging around, but he's going to be all over the court. Jokic obviously at the 3-point line, controls the ball at some points. He's just an absolute monster. But here's the thing. Montrezl Harrell is not that great at defense, right? I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say he's absolutely terrible on defense. Some people will get in the comment section and say, no, he's not. But no, he's bad at defense. We've been seeing a lot of times this year, he gets pulled off the court in games when he's just a defensive liability. A game against Nikola Jokic, who's pushing his way for MVP candidate, a guy who's coming off of a 77.5 fantasy point day where he scored 47 real-life points. Yeah, that game against Nikola Jokic is probably something that I could, maybe avoid in this situation in terms of keeping Montrezl Harrell out there a good amount. The matchups against Harrell, the matchups against the corpse and the ghost of Marc Gasol at this point, yes, Anthony Davis will be down there, but that's not scaring me at all. I like Nikola Jokic over Luka tonight. They obviously both look appealing. If we get massive value from Portland and maybe get some massive value from Houston if John Wall's out, you can play both of them. Yeah, I'm never against paying up for 2 studs. It's just a matter of getting that value. Now, Monty Morris we already kind of teased, but at 4,200, look, there's no Gary Harris. The last game, Gary Harris actually got a couple minutes. So Monty Morris plays 26 minutes, doesn't close out the blowout run with 5 minutes left. He was probably going to be in that closing run rotation, right? There's also still no PJ Dozier, who's kind of just a coach favorite, a guy that they continue to give in the teens of minutes for whatever reason. But Monty Morris, there's a chance that, I think that Monty Morris could be starting in this game. I would expect Monty Morris to probably be starting in this game. Either way, I would be projecting Monty Morris for 25 to 26 minutes in this game, and that's including Gary Harris playing 8 minutes in that last game already. So you can probably see Monty Morris, if he starts, push towards 28 to 30 minutes at 4,200. That's starting to look like very nice value for you. So far this season, without a PJ Dozier or Gary Harris on the court, Monty Morris has played the second most minutes behind Jamal Murray in that situation, and he's averaged 0.86 fantasy points per minute, and he's averaged right now a 25% assist percentage. Those are good stats to see. You don't have to just rely on the shooting when he gets a 17% usage rate. You have that assist percentage to bail you out, and you have decent fantasy point per minute production. At 4,200, you get 30 minutes out of a guy averaging close to 0.9 fantasy points per minute. That's very nice to see. So now we head to Golden State, where it's going to just be a very clear and obvious option for some plays here, and Draymond Green is going to be one of them. Look, it's going to just be that simple, right? Draymond Green is going to have to play center minutes tonight unless they're going to be putting somebody like Eric Pascal or Toscano Anderson at the center, and then we'll know that starting rotation. But I assume unless somebody gets added to this rotation today from, COVID makes it really hard to pull people up from the G League out of nowhere, right? So I assume right now they're not going to be able to pull somebody up because Kevon Looney just got hurt a couple games ago. Even if they wanted to pull somebody up that night, they have to pass 5 COVID tests. I'm almost positive on that, and there's nobody else on this team right now. So unless we get some sort of news out of somewhere that I'm not understanding or seeing right now, Draymond Green is having to start at center tonight. They have no other option. And look, you might want to go around on some of these on-off tool metrics and just try and see what the numbers are with all these guys off for Draymond Green. You're not going to have a sample, right? There hasn't been that many games or that many minutes with Kevon Looney, Wiseman, and Marquise Chris off the court. You have 68 minutes for that so far this season with Draymond Green, so it's not really something that we could look at all that much. You have 200 plus minutes for Eric Pascal, and he averages over a fantasy point per minute, so that's at least decent to look at. You have 100 minutes for Kent Bazemore, and he averages 1.16 fantasy points per minute. But here's the thing. I guarantee you that a lot of that's just in blowout run, so there's really not much to look out there. And 100 minutes of blowout run for Kent Bazemore, sure, maybe he's leading the team with guys like Michael Mulder out there and Jordan Poole and some of these other guys out there, right? So that's going to be your issue. You don't have a true sample. But logic will tell you that when you're probably going to be getting 34 minutes, maybe even more out of Draymond Green at just 5,200, he should probably be $1,000 more at the very least today at the center position where there's going to be more blocks, steal even upside. Obviously, the easier shot attempts upside. He's still going to be a great assist player from under the basket. That's how you saw Steph go off in that last game for a lot of it. Yes, Draymond is probably going to be the top play as of right now today. And then some other options. Look, Kelly Oubre, this is the cheapest that we've seen him in a couple of weeks now. This is the cheapest that we've seen him since nobody wanted to play him. He started coming off the bench with the second unit, and he started playing very well. So Kelly Oubre is going to be somebody that's in play for me. Now, he's not any type of a conviction play. I prefer Draymond from his own team. If there's other plays on other teams that opens up, like a Gary Trent in a somewhat similar price range, I think Trent's like 6,200 today. Oubre averaging 0.89 fantasy points per minute so far this season, but when you're taking Steph Curry off the court, right? So when Oubre's on the court with the second unit and Steph Curry's not out there, which is a decent amount of the minutes for the game now, they've been running this for about the past month or so, Oubre's averaging 1.23 fantasy points per minute. And again, that's not a big sample. It's only been about 100 minutes because it's not happening for the entire game, but it's only been happening for like their last like 6-7 games or so at most. And it's been happening for, that second quarter rotation where it's like, you get 6 to 7 minutes without Steph on the court, but he's averaging 1.23 fantasy points per minute in that time. And he's averaging during that time a 23% usage rate. So Oubre definitely in play. And then Toscano Anderson, he checked in, like we said, for Looney. He played big minutes in that last game. He closed out the game. We have to see what happens with Eric Paschall. Whoever starts at the power forward spot, if it's Toscano Anderson, I have interest. If Toscano Anderson doesn't start at power forward, he's also appealing to me because he's so cheap and he can get 20 minutes off the bench and get you there, but it's not as appealing. So whoever starts at power forward, right? So I have Toscano Anderson on the screen right now, but if you see Kent Bazemore starting at the power forward spot, insert Kent Bazemore's name there. If it's Toscano Anderson, play him at 3,500 and he starts to become one of the best value plays in the slate, if not the best. If it's Eric Paschall, assume that his 14 minutes in the last game were due to back spasms and he's now over those back spasms. He got a shot or they just went away. At some point, they're going to have to go away, right? So he got a shot. They either went away. So now you can rely on him to play much more than 14 minutes. He came off the bench in that last game and only played 14 minutes. If he starts in this game, I'm going to start projecting him for a lot bigger minutes of play there. So yes, he only scored 4 points in that last game. A lot of people probably aren't going to want to play him. If he starts, I'm fine to go to Paschall. So really just seeing who starts at power forward. But Draymond Green, firmly in play. Kelly Oubre, a pretty quality play, and whoever starts a power forward for Golden State. For Houston today, it's going to be kind of a headache today until we get some more news and clarification. Like Christian Wood's expensive at $8,800, and he's not playing these big 35, 36-minute games like he was earlier this year when it was easy to play him at $8,800, right? No, now he's playing 32 because DeMarcus Cousins has been good, and they want to give DeMarcus Cousins, reward him with 16 minutes or so off the bench, and they're not playing alongside each other all that much or at all this year. So the only way I'm going to really like Christian Wood, especially at the center-only spot today, is if you get no John Wall and Oladipo. We already were told that it's unlikely that Oladipo is going to play, but we don't know if John Wall was just being rested on the front end of the back-to-back because we didn't hear about anything for a re-aggravation to this Achilles. It said it's just a recovery purposes. So I'm projecting John Wall in. And if that's the case, I don't have all that much interest in Christian Wood at his price point today, especially compared to some other value centers, especially compared to maybe some other PAP centers like a Nikola Jokic. So what that means is really from Houston today, I really only like John Wall, right? If John Wall is coming back, he's just going to be soaking up that Victor Oladipo usage that is left behind. Without Victor Oladipo on the court this season, you're going to be seeing John Wall playing decent, but I think it's going to be a lot bigger and a better representation. If we take Victor Oladipo off the court for Houston, and obviously James Harden from some of those earlier games, you're getting John Wall to average so far this season 1.27 fantasy points per minute, and that's in a nice sample of about 120 minutes of play. So yes, I feel pretty confident. 28% usage in that rate, a 41% assist percentage. I feel pretty confident in John Wall at 6,900, right? If John Wall's active today, there's going to be a couple of guys that if you're somebody who plays cash or even single entry 3-max GPPs, you just need to get different in a couple of spots. Draymond Green and John Wall seems like a pretty firm spot to be starting a lot of your lineups today. And then again, if John Wall's out, all hell is going to break loose. See what the starting rotation looks like. Obviously, Eric Gordon gets a bump. That's when Christian Wood will also start to get a bump just from a productivity standpoint and assist percentage standpoint. But then whoever starts, is it Sterling Brown? Is it Mason Jones? Who's ever going to start at the point guard position at that time? We've seen Mason Jones in the past start. Those guys would start to become interesting to me, but we would have to see the starting rotation. And then there's another caveat that David Nwaba potentially could return today. He missed yesterday's game. If he returns, it just ruins some of those other guys like a Jason Tate and a Ben McLemore and all these guys that kind of just blend into each other on this team, right? Even Daniel House, they all just kind of look like the same guy. It ruins them because then David Nwaba comes in and plays 20 to 24 minutes and cuts through all their minutes. Getting over to Memphis now, we kind of discussed how they're just always in blowout run. Look, I like Dylan Brooks. He's still fine at his price point. His price point's not coming up because he's not playing big minutes, so he's not consistently producing, even though in his minutes, he's producing like a fantasy point per minute. John Moran, I could probably still avoid here. I know that he has the ceiling. I know that he has it at 7,600. I know that he's playing decent minutes. We just haven't seen it all that much. So nobody from Memphis is really a conviction. Like Brandon Clark's fine. If they finally don't get a blowout, he'll probably play 28 to 30 minutes. And that price point marginally came down from 62 to 6,000. Kyle Anderson's fine, but he's not as consistent of a fantasy point per minute producer, and he needs to get his full minutes to really get you there. And again, these blowouts are concerning for Memphis right now, but maybe you get a Houston team that's depleted of John Wall and Oladipo today and it looks a little bit better. So Memphis, I'll say Brandon Clark's my favorite play. After that, Dylan Brooks, but it's not any conviction. If you go over to Philly today, it'll be Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid looks great, right? I like Jokic more as a pay-up option, but you have these pay-up centers that's why it makes it a little bit harder to want to get to Christian Wood, because for not that much more money, like $1,000 more, $1,400 more, you can get to Joel Embiid, who continues to eat, who yesterday, yet again, had another 55-plus point day, even with all these guys healthy. Joel Embiid continues to eat. Like earlier this year when there was because of COVID, no Tobias Harris and no Simmons out there, yeah, he's averaging like 1.6 fantasy points per minute because he's getting all the usage. He's picking up assist percentage now, which is not normally something that you see out of him. But even with these guys on the court this season, Embiid has still been high quality. He's still averaging over now 1.55 fantasy points per minute, and you're still getting these big minutes. In close games, you get the big minutes out of Joel Embiid. In a game against Portland today, if Damian Lillard is not out there, your main concern would be if you're somebody who likes to project in blowouts. I don't like to do that, but in close games, you're getting, at minimum, like yesterday, 34 minutes in a game where they win by 7 against Charlotte. But the beautiful thing is in nice matchups, like Portland will be a fantastic matchup. Don't get me wrong. Enes Kanter is the only thing out there, and he has bullied Enes Kanter for pretty much all of Enes Kanter's career when he faces Joel Embiid. In a game against Minnesota where they had nobody, they had like a Naz Reid and a Jared Vanderbilt, right, and somewhat of an Ed Davis. 27 minutes he plays there, and he still scores 60 fantasy points, 59.25 to be exact. So Joel Embiid is firmly in play today. If you don't have enough money to get up to $800 more, Nikola Jokic, do not feel bad about getting to Joel Embiid. The only thing that can ruin him is an extreme blowout where he only plays like 25 minutes, and he's not the one producing in that blowout all that much. Otherwise, you get 30, 32, 34 minutes out of Joel Embiid today. It's going to look very, very nice. He continues to be massively underpriced for how good he's been having of a season this year. Now, nobody else from a value-wise from Philly stands out right now, just better value in other spots. I don't want these wing guards like a Milton or a Danny Green or a Curry. But what I will say is that Tobias Harris at 7,200 is too cheap. But if there's going to be no John Wall, Tobias Harris kind of fills into that like 7K, low 7K, high 6K range for me. But right now, Tobias Harris, he's not a priority, but he's firmly in play because that price point still is too cheap for the minutes that he's playing. And now we can get to these final two teams and these final three players, starting with Damian Lillard from Portland. So Portland is very similar to Houston, figuring out what's happening with John Wall today. But for Portland, if Lillard is out, all hell breaks loose. Carmelo, Covington, obviously Kanter still, Gary Trent, Anthony Simons, even Rodney Hood to a certain extent. All these guys become in play. Now, right now, some of them are in play. Their price points are coming up on Gary Trent, on Anthony Simons, even on Robert Covington slightly, but not much. So those guys are still all fringe plays for me right now, but Lillard will be the guy that I'll go to. At $10,400, the problem, though, is like I like a lot of studs in this slate. I would rank the studs right now, these four that I have on the slate. I'd rank it Jokic, Embiid, Lillard, and Luka, but they are all so close for me right now. Like Lillard, you know you're getting the big minutes if he's going to be healthy. In that last game, he was banged up against Washington, and he still played 39 minutes, shot 23 times. He just had his worst shooting night in a long time, right? He shot 39% from the field. That was his first worst shooting night in like 2 or 3 weeks. And he's that bad, right? He's that bad, quote unquote bad, and he still scores 49 fantasy points. So on 23 attempts, 4 of 14 from three-point land, just 28%, right? On that amount of just little volume, he still goes off for 49 points, or quote unquote goes off. So Lillard is just minutes proof at this point and usage proof at this point. Like he's getting that much usage and that much minutes, it's going to result in something. So Lillard, honestly, right now, he's kind of neck and neck for Embiid for me. It's nice that they play different positions. You probably don't have to put them into your utility spot. But right now, I'd go 2A to Embiid and 2B to Lillard, but just track that injury status. Enes Kanter would be the one guy, if you're not going to be paying up for a Jokic or an Embiid, I would choose Enes Kanter and save money right now over really anybody else in those ranges, over a Brandon Clark, over a more expensive Christian Wood. The big worry is that Enes Kanter just gets in trouble today, but at $7,000, he's going to look good. And when I say in trouble, just from a Joel Embiid. Now, with no McCollum and Nurkic on the court this year, Enes Kanter has averaged 1.15 fantasy points per minute, a 31% defensive rebounding rate. It is a tough matchup for him, but again, on SuperDraft, the presenting sponsor, use that code SAL. Take advantage of there being just like 25 to 30% of nobody in there tonight. Again, code SAL, I'll get you a free money bonus up to $500. You can send me that screenshot to my Twitter or my email of you leaving a podcast review on the Sal Vetri Show for a chance to win one of the 20 Super Bowl tickets on SuperDraft. Free ticket to get into a contest there, so be sure to do that. But it looks really good there. Again, 1.85x multiplier, just more competition now at the center position on SuperDraft for him to kind of just have to beat out. But at 7K on DraftKings, he looks quality. Not a priority for me, but he's going to grade it as a really good value. But my priority is going to be paying up at center. And then lastly, Donovan Mitchell. So from Utah, you can go to Gobert if you want. I'll prefer Enes Kanter in that range. Donovan Mitchell kind of finds himself next to Christophe Porzingis, who right now I prefer Porzingis, but he finds himself next to Porzingis, and then there's not much else there, right? When you're looking at just the DraftKings salaries tonight, if you're looking in that 8K range, like that lower 8K range, there's really, it's kind of hollowed out. You have Oladipo who's likely going to miss. I don't have much interest in Ben Simmons. Capella at his price tag just kind of looks like another guy, right? You go down and you have an injured CJ McCollum. You have John Morant, who's a little overpriced. Not much interest in Rudy Gobert, and I'm not chasing the John Collins game. So it's kind of hollowed out there where it's just Porzingis and just Mitchell. Mitchell's fine for me. Mitchell at $7,600 last time out was the cheapest he's been in a while. $7,800 is still relatively cheap. I would prefer Porzingis for $100 less if you're looking across positions, but depending on your positionality, you can put Mitchell in that shooting guard spot, and that's a big advantage for a point guard, a ball-dominant point guard. I know Mike Conley's out there, but Mitchell takes on a lot of usage like a point guard on many other teams. So at $7,800, putting that type of a player in your shooting guard spot from a game theory, a lineup construction standpoint, sounds about right and sounds pretty quality to me. So that's it for me, gang. I appreciate it. Like, subscribe, do those things. Later today, we'll be live at 4:30 p.m. East Coast time, so that notification bell I'll let you know when we're going live. Any news that breaks, I will update it via Patreon projections. They'll be out a little bit later today. It's just a 5-game slate, so probably sometime around like 9, 10-ish probably. But down below on Patreon, you can check that out. We have tools for MMA, tools for PJ, tools for the Super Bowl. Patreon.com/Sal_Vetri_ if you want to support me, the channel. Appreciate that a ton. But live at 4:30 tonight, MMA content probably coming out tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, but probably tonight. Tomorrow morning, we'll have the final thoughts on the Super Bowl. Tomorrow at noon, Friday at noon, we'll be doing a live stream on this channel right here with Dylan Bird and myself. We'll be talking about Super Bowl player props. Saturday, NBA content. Sunday, Super Bowl live stream. And that's your week, baby. So have a great rest of your day. I'll see you guys and you ladies and you gentlemen, you fellas at 4:30 p.m. East Coast time. You all rock. Enjoy your day. Again, it's Optimism Day today, so be sure to do something to be a little bit optimistic. Pay for the person behind you's coffee. Do something nice, right? Do something nice today. Pass it on. Pass it forward. You all rock. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.